Welcome to Austin, Texas for the second annual Astro Awards, live in person at the historic Paramount Theatre.
This year, we expanded our programming to 2 full days of panels and keynotes and special guests. It was a ton of fun. We're already working on next year's show, and we're thinking it's gonna be the 2nd, the 3rd, or the 4th week of January. So kind of bookmark that in your calendar and pay attention to social media because we'll make an official announcement here real soon. We'll also be releasing a few of the videos from this event because there were some really cool keynotes, so stand by for that. Okay, without further ado, here's the 2nd annual in-person Astro Awards.
Please welcome to the stage your host for the 2nd annual Astro Awards, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut.
Hello everyone, welcome to the 2nd annual Astro Awards. It's funny because now we've seen each other like all weekend, so this whole rigmarole is like pretty pointless. Hi, it's me, Tim. You've seen me all weekend. I'm so glad you guys are here though. This is what this weekend is about. This is the origination of all of this. This is the purpose of all of this, is to get the public and the professionals in one room to celebrate the achievements of humans' amazingness, right? So I'm really excited because I don't think the public always gets to, see behind the scenes a little bit. I don't think the professionals always get to get that sense of the importance of their work. I think sometimes it gets lost in the spreadsheets and the minutia of the water cooler and things, and then and the parking and the traffic. And then maybe you don't always get a chance to sit back and go, oh, that was actually awesome. That was actually a really big deal, and we did that. So that's what today is about. That's what the Astro Awards are about. Before we kind of get started, let's do a little rundown here on looking back at the year. So we had 261 orbital missions. That's crazy. 253 of them were successful, giving it a 97% success rate overall around the world. Fun little side note, this will be a common theme. 138 of those were from SpaceX. And this is up from a total of 223 orbital missions in 2023. So yeah, pretty big leap up. So we had 58 humans that went to space last year. 28 of those were orbital and 30 of those were suborbital. That's pretty amazing. That's up from 51 just the year before. So again, you can see a trend going here. Another fun little one is we had 19 humans in orbit at one time, and that's up from 17. Again, trending in the right direction. This one's fun. Last year we had 11 maiden flights of a rocket. So the first launch of a brand new rocket system for the first time. And that's up from 9 in 2023. And this one's just a little bit mind-boggling when you actually stop and think about it. Humanity hit a milestone of over 10,000 active satellites in space. And little side note again, over 2/3 of them are Starlink satellites. Yeah, that's absolutely crazy. When you really, let's hear it for satellites. This is the part of the show. Last year, it was the first time we did an in-person award show. And, I told the team, I'm like, hey, it'd be kind of fun if we looked back at how this all started. And we showed a very, very embarrassing video of me in my bedroom giving out awards to no one. So to continue tradition, I did decide that I told the team they could choose one video that was public from a YouTube channel. They could find an embarrassing moment, and that I would stand here and have to accept the embarrassment. So let's see what you guys got.
He escaped the zoo and he tried to go to space. Everybody loves giraffes.
6,200 hours later into our shoot, we finally get a great glimpse here of the Giraffe-Astronaut. Mark Peterson had captured this excellent footage of it in its natural habitat trying to eat leaves, and trying to fit into the city where it belongs, where I think it could be, where you don't even know where you are if you would have seen it next to where it should be of it.
Some people love Adras-J.
Funny thing is the joke's on them because that's awesome. I mean, that's not embarrassing at all. That was my, 2014, 2015, 2016 costume for Halloween. A Astronaut, that's normal. That's not even embarrassing at all. So these are missions. Remember, with Astro Awards, the idea isn't to do like categories. It's really just to celebrate a fully successful mission. A mission that, you walk away from going, boom, nailed it. And then we bring them here and we say, great job. So there's a few missions that were so darn close, and this is really hard for us as the public and as we kind of talk about these things and behind the scenes as we're debating, is it Astro Award worthy or honorable mention? Like what's next? And ironically, I think all of the ones that we're going to mention here for honorable mention all have an upcoming opportunity to be up here next year. So keep that in mind. So the first one is Intuitive Machines IM-1, launched, yes. I mean, it's close. It's like, but they're coming up with another. So this launched February 15th, 2024 from Launch Complex 39A, of course, at Kennedy Space Center on SpaceX's Falcon 9 rocket. It touched down on February 22nd near the Malapert A crater near the moon's south pole. It's the first commercial soft landing, the first US spacecraft to land on the moon since 1972. Now you might be saying, Tim, that's incredible. Why aren't they receiving an Astro Award this year? Unfortunately, it tipped over. It's fine. It is fine. It tipped over and it lasted 7 days on the moon. Still, huge achievement, incredible. We should all be excited about this, but we should be even more excited for when they absolutely nail it here, because they're launching in hopefully about another month from now. Yes, and we're going to see IM-2 on the moon, which means next year we're going to see Intuitive Machines receiving an award. So keep it up. Maybe this will be another extra little, we got this one. So next up is Ariane Space's Ariane 6. And this was a replacement for the Ariane 5. It launched for the very first time ever, July 9th in 2024 from the Guinn Space Center from the launch pad ELA-4. This was the Ariane 62 variant with just 2 solid rocket boosters. As kind of a shakedown, they have the option of 2 or 4 solid rocket boosters. This was 2. It carried a mass simulator and a few CubeSats. And it was declared mission success-ish, although its auxiliary propulsion unit to restart the engine on one of the last burns that it was intended to do did fail. So it didn't quite, it's like, we want these to be like, yes, nailed it. And again, this is another one of those where they're gonna fly again. They're going to have a hugely, fully successful mission, and we will see them on stage when they do that. So let's hear it for Ariane 6's first flight, and hopefully see them again here next year. And lastly, we have another one of those it's the exact same thing, actually, ironically. This is SLIM, the Smart Lunar Lander for Investigating the Moon. This was a JAXA mission that launched September 6, 2023 from the Teganisham, I'm going to slaughter that, Space Center on the H-2A rocket. This touched down on January 19th last year near the Scioli crater in the Sea of Nectar. Now, this actually did make Japan the 5th nation to soft land on the moon. And again, it's like, that is a thing. We're trying not just to always be milestone based. We want full mission success. And so unfortunately, it also landed slightly not quite pointy end up, flamey end down. And it did lose contact on April 28th and they officially concluded the mission in August. So it's not quite, but again, hopefully we see a repeat of that mission and we see a fully successful mission where we see them on the stage and we are cheering as we hand them an Astro Award. So let's hear it for the Smart Lander. So yeah, a few of those bits of hardware unfortunately left this world. But on that note, we did actually have to say goodbye to a few humans that had a deep impact, not only in the professional world, but also with their loved ones as well, that we had to say goodbye to this year. So let's just take a moment to recognize some people that we lost in the spaceflight industry. Yeah. So of course, on behalf of this room full of people, to the family and friends that lost a loved one this year, even if it's not someone mentioned here, our thoughts and prayers are with you, and hopefully we'll see you in the next life. Now this one's a little bit more fun. It's still sad, but not nearly as sad as a human. We did have to say goodbye to a little bit of hardware this year. So let's see what we lost. Some missions were planned end of life and others not. I'm clapping for this one, I'm sorry. No love for Vega. I guess everyone's excited to see that one go. Jeez, tough crowd. I guess you have to have your flat burn through to get any love around here. So, okay, we're keeping things moving this year, which is really exciting. So again, the point of the Astro Awards, we kind of came up with when we started doing this in person was, obviously I've tried to not do categories because, unlike movies and music, it's like you have movies that are, drama and daytime drama or for TV or whatever, and you have country music or whatever. I don't really want to try to do that with spaceflight. I don't want it to be like the coolest mission that went to Venus of the year. It's like one, what? No, categories don't necessarily make sense. The idea is that we just come together when something is awesome. That's simple. However, we decided maybe we should come up with some core ideas. Like, what is the point of the Astro Awards? What is deserving of an Astro Award? And we came up with the three main pillars, the three main tenets. I feel like I'm a CEO now of like Apple. But we decided that it's inspirational, innovative, and important would be the three I's. This is where it comes into like CEO talk, I'm sorry. But those are the three things that we decided that's kind of what makes up a fantastic space mission, is if it's inspirational. Did the public pay attention? Was the public inspired? Social media numbers. We're talking about impact on just the everyday people. Did people see it, right? Innovative kind of makes sense. Something new, novel, something that maybe is like a step towards something, a really exciting future. Again, pretty self-explanatory and important. I don't know if I have to explain that one as much, but we're especially thinking of scientific importance, especially when it comes to the important word. So on that note, we have to come up with our first Astro Award of the evening is a little thing I'm gonna give you a little sales pitch. I wish we could go in person black and white and I could be like, do you hate space debris? Do you hate when there's bits of things flying around at 10 times faster than a bullet that could potentially cause Kessler syndrome? I know, I hate space debris, and that's why I'm really excited about Astroscale's Adras-J mission. Because this was the first mission to go and actually basically rendezvous with space debris, and they're working on figuring out how to properly deorbit large space debris and get it out of low Earth orbit. So this was chosen by JAXA for the commercial removal of space debris. It launched on February 18th on Rocket Lab's Electron rocket from Launch Complex 1 in the Mahia Peninsula, New Zealand. It rendezvoused with an H-2A upper stage that launched GoSat into orbit in 2009. So I don't know if, that like those pictures are real life images of a satellite going up and literally like taking pictures of space debris. This thing's been up there since 2009. This is huge. It's 11 meters long, so 35, 6 feet long, 4 meters wide, so 13 feet wide, and weighs 3 tons, so 6,600 pounds. It's a massive chunk of hardware. This is bigger than a school bus. It's just out there uncontrollably just orbiting, right? And it's just stuck there. So what Adras-J did, this was the first demonstration to actually maneuver within 15 meters, so less than 50 feet away from the stage, to be able to eventually, they're trying to classify how you can attach to the existing payload attachment. So they sat there and qualified, they kind of figured out how do we maneuver with this stuff, is it safe to do so? And this was the first ever commercial mission to target and approach large space debris. And so they actually hope to capture and deorbit the next one now that this mission was such a big success, and they figured out that, yes, this is possible. And so that is why Adras-J deserves an Astro Award.
Accepting the Astro Award on behalf of Astroscale and Rocket Lab, please welcome to the stage Rocket Lab Mission Manager, Rebecca Sutton.
Well, it's an honor. First of all, I would like to thank the Academy. Just kidding. But obviously, I would love to thank Tim and Everyday Astronaut and all of you for being here for this awards ceremony. Rocket Lab is honored to be back representing for the second year in a row. Fabulous. I don't think I have to spend very much time talking about how amazing and important Astroscale's mission is. We just saw the images. How is that even real? How is that a real thing? So they're doing fantastic work, and even being part of facilitating that from a launch perspective is just such an honor, obviously. But also, this mission was so incredibly fun to watch, even before launch. I don't think I've seen my GNC team be so excited to solve a problem ever. Just GNC nerds geeking out on orbital mechanics with other GNC nerds from Astroscale. It was such a collaborative effort, obviously, because it's rendezvousing with a moving target. You have to be constantly in contact. The insertion has to be so incredibly precise to be able for them to successfully complete their mission, and it was just such a success all around. We are just so happy that we were able to be a little part of that. So thank you for honoring us all today. Thank you to Astroscale. Thank you to Rocket Lab. Thank you all.
Let's hear it again for Rebecca Sutton, Rocket Lab and Astroscale for the amazing success of the Adras-J mission.
I should mention real quick, we did ask Astroscale to be here. They didn't, so they weren't able to make it, so we will be sending them their trophy as well. So we do have one for them as well. So
I just want to send you to Japan. I can deliver.
That's a good delivery system. Just a business class flight to Japan, no problem. Okay, so this is one of those things where space flight, you think of it, everyone, there kind of can be this cynical sense of like, why are we always spending money on space when there's problems down here on Earth, and why are we doing all these, things up there? And there's kind of this mantra sometimes. And there's millions and millions of scientists that are working to study our planet, the planet that we live on. And you think like space doesn't really have anything to do with that. But what's really interesting is that one of the best ways to study our own planet is actually not right here on the ground. It's actually to get off of our Earth and then look back and study it from a different vantage point, getting new data. So NASA's PACE, or the Plankton Aerosol Cloud and Ocean Ecosystem, is an amazing mission that launched on January 15th, 2024 from Slick 40 on a Falcon 9. Now this monitors the Earth's ocean and its atmosphere, and it has a whole suite of scientific instruments that are studying the planet that we live on. So including there's this OCI, an ocean color instrument, and it can literally measure color precise enough to know exact plankton types from space. It can look at the ocean from space and say, oh yeah, that's plankton something. I'm not a biologist. I have no idea. The thought of being able to actually study our oceans to that detail with an instrument from space is amazing. They also have the HARP-2, or the Hyperangular Rambox Polarimeter 2, data on aerosols and cloud studies. By the way, reading in front of, I don't mind speaking in public. Reading in public is my nightmare. So yeah, I think it's Rainbox Polarimeter. There we go. Data, and that studies the aerosols and also studies our clouds and helps us, again, get additional data on climate change, on CO2. There's also the SPEX-1, which is a polarimeter that also helps measure aerosol and air quality again. So they're gathering just more and more data to correlate with the hypothesis of our world, right? And to further just try to figure out the world we live on, the impacts that us humans have on it, and just try to classify all of that. So it is one of those absolutely outstanding missions that deserves recognition, which is why we're excited to give the next Astro Award to NASA's PACE mission.
Accepting the Astro Award remotely on behalf of NASA for the incredible achievements of the PACE mission, please give a round of applause for Jeremy Wardell.
Hi everyone, I'm Jeremy Wardell, the lead scientist for NASA's PACE mission at NASA Goddard Space Flight Center in Greenbelt, Maryland. So sorry I can't be with you in Austin today, but on behalf of my entire PACE team, I want to thank Everyday Astronaut for acknowledging us with this award. We're truly honored and very grateful. Some of you may not know about PACE, so what is it? Let me fill you in. It's a mission that represents NASA's latest, greatest investment in the combined study of Earth's atmosphere and ocean. It reveals the invisible universe of both sea and sky, from microscopic aquatic algae that form the base of our food chain to tiny atmospheric particles that warm and cool our atmosphere. Best yet, these data are the first of their kind to improve our understanding of Earth's connected systems and how they interact and how they influence our lives on scales that range from days to decades to generations. And the timing of this award is perfect because 2024 was a huge year for us. We launched very early in the morning of February 8th, so we're almost at our year anniversary. 60 days later after launch, we started releasing preliminary data publicly to the international community, and advanced data products are being developed as I speak, which honestly is super thrilling. And also at this moment, we've got a literal sea of researchers out in the field collecting oceanographic and atmospheric data to complement and verify the satellite mission. So Everyday Astronaut, our sincere thanks for recognizing the importance of PACE and what it reveals about our home planet. Cheers to all of you, and thanks again.
And accepting the Astro Award on behalf of SpaceX, the launch provider of the PACE mission, please welcome to the stage Bill Riley, VP of Starship Engineering.
Well, thank you, Tim. Thank you to the whole team. We're really honored to be here today. We're thankful for PACE and for NASA accepting us to launch their payload. We look forward to supporting them in the future, NASA, as well as other customers, as we explore the stars, the Earth, and our place in the universe. Thank you again to all of you, and congrats to the whole Falcon team.
Another round of applause for Jeremy Wardell, Bill Riley, SpaceX, and NASA for the amazing PACE mission.
All right, so this next mission, I mean, this is up there. This is one of those, it's like we were debating back and forth. Let me explain. So it almost won a top award because it did do something that has never been done before. But we're not always looking for just, a first. Let me explain. So Chang'e 6 was the Chinese National Space Administration's, this is their 4th launch to the moon. It launched on May 3rd, 2024 from Wenchang Launch Center on a Long March 5. It landed June 1st at the Atacama Basin near the South Pole. This was 4 out of 4 lunar landings for China. So they are absolutely just perfecting lunar landings, uncrewed lunar landings. And this is actually a pretty large lunar lander, 3,200 kilograms. I mean, that's pretty large. What is that? Over 6,500 pounds. And to put that into perspective, I mean, that's a large one. I mean, the Apollo lunar lander was about 16.5 kilograms fully fueled. So it's, or 16,500 kilograms fully fueled. So it is a large lunar lander. It's the 2nd lander to the far side of the moon, and it's also the 2nd lunar return sample for China. Now, so those are, it's kind of like, they've already done a lunar sample, they've already landed on the far side of the moon, but this was the first sample that they returned from the far side of the moon. So it is the first samples from the far side of the moon that humans have ever been able to get, quite literally, our greasy little hands on. And hopefully with gloves, right? But it's pretty crazy that this is the first time we've ever actually really seen samples from the far side of the moon. Because don't forget, the moon is tidally locked to Earth. So from Earth, we always kind of see the one side. The back side has only been seen by 27 humans, actually. And one of them was in the audience just earlier. So that's pretty crazy to think about. They ended up being able to return the sample return, and it landed in Inner Mongolia on June 25th, bringing back almost 2 kilograms, so 1,935 grams of samples returned. So just about 4.5 pounds almost. And yeah, it was a pretty wildly successful mission, which is exactly why it is deserving of an Astro Award. However, unfortunately, no one was able to come and accept this award in person. So again, we do have it here, and give us a mailing address and we'll sincerely, genuinely send it out on behalf of all of us here. So let's hear it for CNSA. Now, I didn't know how to tee this one up. I think the best I can do is, do you like sailing? Do you ever sail in space? Have you ever taken a sailboat in space? Okay, good. If someone's like, yeah, I'd be like, okay, get out of here. This is ridiculous. Solar sailing is a really cool concept where you can almost get propulsion for free from the sun. It's not as intuitive as you might think. It's not like there's not necessarily wind up in space, but there is solar wind and solar pressure that can be applied to spacecraft. And it might be minute, it might be less than a feather's weight worth of propulsion, but given it, if you have a very light spacecraft, give it enough amount of time, you can actually make substantial changes in a mission's profile. So, NASA's ACES mission, or the Advanced Composite Solar Sail System, launched on April 23rd on Rocket Lab's Electron from New Zealand. Again, Rocket Lab did this mission as well. Deployed its solar sail on August 29th. Now, you might say, okay, Tim, we've seen solar sails before. What is so unique about this? This thing is unbelievably small. It extends out to be unbelievably large, and the big first thing that's so impressive about this is the first solar sail to use carbon fiber booms. And you might think, how can you actually do telescoping with carbon fiber booms? Because if you think about like a tripod or some of the telescopes, you think of it like clicking out. And if you think about how do you go from something that's only a 12U shape, so only roughly a little bit bigger than like a shoebox size, how do you get that to be, all the way out to 80 square meters, 861 square feet? That's the size of like some houses as far as square footage. These booms are 7 meters long, so 23-foot long booms. How do you get a 23-foot long boom into a box the size of a shoebox, and 4 of them? Like literally imagine that amount of expansion. What they cleverly came up with, everyone's probably familiar with a tape measure, right? You know how a tape measure is kind of like almost like a U shape. Well, that's basically what it is, a carbon fiber fancy tape measure that literally deploys, and it can go all the way out holding that much tension across that much area. And so it's an unbelievably high performing solar sail that is a completely novel concept on how you can do this. And it was a huge success. So it's still in orbit today, still fully successful, and it's been a huge success, which is exactly why it deserves an Astro Award. However, again, not able to make it in person this year, but we do have some remarks, a letter that they wanted me to read on behalf of the team at the ACES mission, which Scott Manley and I actually met some of the people at Ames Research Center last year, so that was really fun. And so this says, again, this is my nightmare, so please bear with me while I try to stumble through reading. All right, so this is from Christopher Baker, the program executive of NASA's Small Spacecraft Technology Program. On behalf of NASA's Space Technology Mission Directorate and everyone involved in the Advanced Composite Solar Cell System mission, thank you for this award. While the team is currently busy making the spacecraft in orbit at almost 1,000 kilometers above Earth, I'm grateful for this opportunity to acknowledge the ingenuity and hard work of the teams at NASA's Ames Research Center, NASA's Langley Research Center, and our commercial partners, as well as the team at the Santa Clara University and our colleagues in NASA's Science Mission Directorate that made this demonstration possible. NASA's Advanced Composite Solar Cell System, managed by the agency's Small Spacecraft Technology Program, is a test of composite boom technology that is more resilient to the harsh environments of space than previous designs. After successfully deploying these booms in August of last year and unfurling the spacecraft's solar sail, we've gathered incredibly valuable data on the sail and boom system's performance. This data will help inform how we can build much larger solar sails that can enable future spacecraft to monitor critical phenomena like space weather and conduct scientific explorations in hard-to-reach demonstrations across the solar system. Thank you again to everyone who has made this mission possible and to all of you who have followed the demonstration's progress. We look forward to continuing to make progress on this and other missions that seek to rapidly test technologies to advance the space exploration goals of NASA and the nation. So let's hear it for the ACES program.
Accepting the Astro Award on behalf of Rocket Lab, the launch provider of the ACS-3 mission, please welcome back to the stage Rebecca Sutton, Rocket Lab Mission Manager.
Yeah, we're making you do it every time.
It's me again. You're gonna get sick of me today. This mission is actually very close to my heart. I was the mission manager on this one, and it was a bit of a slow roll for us. It was a couple of years of working with the NASA team while the spacecraft got ready, while we were able to find a ride for them. So we really got to be very well integrated by the end. It wasn't a give you a spacecraft and let's launch it. I saw the test deployment video of the solar sail in their clean room. I talked to them via video while they were working on the spacecraft. So I think, got to know this team and this spacecraft especially well. And it felt so science fiction to me. A solar sail, I'm very interested in alternate means of propulsion, get us out to the stars sort of thing. So this one was just really fun. It's one that we always try and keep up with. Like when the solar sail got deployed, all my team was asking me, do we have the video? What did it look like? So we were able to get a little inside look into that one. Very amazing. Speaking of in memoriam, our fearless leader on the ACS-3 NASA team was the one that shepherded us through the entire process, spacecraft side, extremely smart, was able to see it launch, but unfortunately did not see his work come to fruition and wasn't able to see the solar sail deploy, and he would be so thrilled. So we're gonna dedicate this one to Alan. He would love it. Thank you all.
Let's hear it again for Christopher Baker, Rebecca Sutton, Rocket Lab and NASA for the amazing ACS-3 mission.
Now, I should have probably listened to Scott Manley on that because he said ACS-3 and I've been calling it ACES, and I'll defer to you. All right, so this next one, like we mentioned at the top of the show, there was, was it 11 or not? 11 new launch systems this year. And sometimes, even though it's, it's still always new and hard, you don't quite get it right on the first try. Remember, we talked about Ariane 6 not quite making it to or not completely completing all their objectives this year. This is another one where they almost had it on the first try and unfortunately didn't. But this year, JAXA's H3 rocket, built by Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, did successfully make it to orbit. It launched on February 17th, carrying mass simulators and 2 small sats. This is the replacement to their H2A and their H2B rocket. This thing's actually quite powerful. It can yeet up to 8 tons to geotransfer orbit, the official term, and up to 14 tons to low Earth orbit. Now, the big goal of this program is they're trying to reduce the launch cost compared to their H2A and H2B by 50%. So that's an ambitious goal, and so far it seems like that is on target for them. So the first launch attempt of the very first launch attempt, the one that did not work, was on March 7th, 2023, and the second stage malfunctioned. So that is why this year the teams between JAXA and Mitsubishi Heavy Industries deserves an Astro Award. So again, unfortunately, another one that couldn't make it. We got people trying to come from all around the world, and kind of last minute, because we try not to wrap up our nominations until December 31st. So 3 weeks to go, hey, plan an entire trip to Austin, Texas right now. So on behalf of Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, we have this letter. So, dear Mr. Tim Dodd, that's very sweet already. On behalf of Mitsubishi Heavy Industries Limited, I would like to express our sincere appreciation for nominating us to the Astro Awards. It is a great honor for us, and we are glad to draw everyday astronaut attention to us and the Japanese space industry. The Mitsubishi Heavy Industries, JAXA, and all partner companies work together with enthusiasm to develop the H3 launch vehicle. Thus, the launch failure of the maiden flight on March 2023 was tough. Under such difficult circumstances, we received many messages from worldwide which said, failure is the step for success. We believe in JAXA and the Mitsubishi Heavy Industries' faithful attitude on launch vehicle, and we look forward to seeing the return of flight. It gave us all tremendous power. We reconcentrated all of Japan's space industry knowledge and experience, and we successfully completed return to flight in February of 2024. These 3 consecutive successful launches have been completed until now, and H3 is ready to provide launch services to waiting customers. We look forward to providing our launch solution to worldwide. Please stay tuned on us. And once again, I convey our gratitude for your interest in H3 and nomination of JAXA and Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. We'll continue working hard to contribute of the development of the space industry by providing access to space. So let's hear it again for H3 rocket.
Accepting the Astro Award remotely on behalf of JAXA for the successful test flight of the H3 rocket, please give a round of applause for Makoto Arita, Project Manager for the H3 launch vehicle.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Arita, the Project Manager of the H3 launch vehicle of JAXA. I'm very proud to receive such an honorable award on behalf of JAXA and Mitsubishi Heavy Industries. I wish I could be there in person to meet all of you, but right now I'm at the launch site getting ready for the H3 number 5 launching on February 1st. Please keep an eye on our 5th launch. JAXA has worked with Mitsubishi Heavy Industries and other Japanese companies to bring this new launch vehicle to life. We've had our challenges along the way, including the failure of the test flight number 1. But the test flight number 2 last year was a big success for us. By the way, I'm aware that many private companies are doing a phenomenal job launching impressive new rockets lately. It's an exciting time to see what we can achieve in this competitive landscape. That said, I believe there are times when smaller is better. A3 is designed to be used by everyone around the world. With new technologies like the high-performance LE9 engine, it offers many better launch capabilities and reliability compared to previous Japanese rockets. we've also created several vehicle configurations to handle different payload sizes and orbits, with a strong focus on making it as user-friendly as possible. We are excited to help carry your missions into space with the H3 in the future. Thank you again for this incredible honor. Bye.
Let's hear it again for Makoto Arita, Iwao Igarashi, JAXA and Mitsubishi Heavy Industries for their successful second test flight of the H3 rocket.
So like we just saw, it's pretty normal to not get it right on the first try. This is still there's millions of moving parts and millions of things that need to happen correctly in order to make a successful launch. There's that saying, there's a million things that can happen during a rocket launch, and only one of those outcomes is good. So, so keep that in mind that launching into space it doesn't often happen on the first try. You don't often get complete mission success on the first try, which is exactly why United Launch Alliance's Vulcan rocket was quite impressive this year. On January 8th, 2024, launching from Slick 41 at Cape Canaveral Space Force Station, Vulcan launched for the very first time. This is highly anticipated because it's replacing their Atlas and their Delta rocket. This beast can launch up to 15 tons to geostationary transfer orbit and over 27 tons to low Earth orbit. This has a huge payload fairing, much larger than any rocket that ULA has built in the past. It's cheaper and higher performing than both Atlas and Delta that it replaces, which great metrics to have. This was the first US-built booster to use Methalox to get into orbit. So that was a fun little thing. It was a perfect launch for ULA, for the ULL team that were trying to launch Astrobotic's Peregrine 1 mission to land on the moon. And we unfortunately had to say goodbye in the memoriam to the Peregrine lander, which did not quite survive even the beginning of its journey, unfortunately. So that is exactly why we're giving United Launch Alliance an Astro Award.
Accepting the Astro Award on behalf of ULA for the successful test flight of the Vulcan Centaur rocket, please welcome to the stage R.J. Sansom, Director of Engineering, Chief Engineer for Government and Commercial Programs.
So first, thank you. This is a great honor, and I am very happy to accept this for all the people at ULA who have worked on this Vulcan launch vehicle. As was announced, I'm R.J. Sansom. I'm the Chief Engineer and Director of Engineering. I've had the pleasure of working on the Vulcan launch vehicle from the very early days, back when this was just a paper rocket, just waiting to come to life. In that time, a dedicated, committed team of people worked so hard to bring to life a capability that leverages ULA's heritage and the Atlas and Delta program, as well as bringing forward new technologies and new capabilities so that the Vulcan launch system can bring to orbit capabilities that no other vehicle that we've had in our arsenal can do. With a powerful main stage, combined with the latest evolution of the Centaur upper stage, Centaur 5, the reliability and flexibility that that stage has allows us to insert with great orbital accuracy into the most complex and exotic orbits. We're so proud of what this vehicle can do. Back in January of this year, as we got through the terminal count, the vehicle lit, it lifted off, it roared to life, it lit up the stage, lit up the night sky, not the stage, the night sky. It was a really impressive sight. It demonstrated what this vehicle can do. It set the stage for the 70 missions that we have on contract for both our commercial space and our national security space customers, and we're really excited for many, many more Vulcan launches to come. Thank you for everyone at ULA for this. Thank you from everyone from ULA for this award. I'm very honored to accept it. Thank you.
Another big round of applause for RJ Sansom and ULA for their successful launch of the Vulcan Centaur CERT-1 mission.
There's a few missions that stand out in my head as changing our understanding of the world that we're in. There's, of course, so many, you can think of like big missions like Voyager 1 and 2 that, go and explore the outer solar system and give us a perspective on the planet that we live on in a way that we've never understood before. James Webb, for instance, and Hubble, and, the Mars missions. I mean, there's just so many out there that are changing how we actually even understand our beautiful solar system and life, potentially life outside of that someday, or inside of our solar system. And this year, NASA launched the Europa Clipper mission. And this is a flagship NASA mission. This launched on October 14th from Launch Complex 39A on SpaceX's Falcon Heavy rocket. Now here's the interesting little bit here. This was only 6 tons. We've talked about vehicles, that could, we just talked about, the Vulcan could take, 16 tons or whatever it was to geostationary transfer orbit, much closer. So why use Falcon Heavy, a heavy lift vehicle, to launch just 6 tons? Why expend those precious cores that can land? Well, that's because this is heading out to Jupiter. The 6-ton spacecraft is on its way to Jupiter as we speak, and it's going to be heading out to one of Jupiter's moons, Europa. And it's going to be trying to study Jupiter's subsurface ocean, its ice shell, and its potential habitability. So this thing is absolutely loaded with instruments, which is exactly what you want when you're out there at Jupiter. It has spectrometers, cameras, radar systems, ultraviolet spectrograph, and magnetometers. It will arrive in 2030. So that's how long it's going to take to get out to Jupiter. And that little bit right there is kind of the, we tend to do like when it launches, if it's a success in a big mission, there's a chance for an Astro Award, like a flagship mission, and when it starts to really do its science. So keep that in mind later on. So it'll arrive in 2030. It'll orbit Jupiter and do about 50 flybys, hopefully getting within 16 miles, so 25 kilometers from the surface of Europa. So it had to do, in order to make it out there on Falcon Heavy, it had to do some gravity assist. That's why it's going to take 6 years. So we'll do gravity assist using Earth and Mars, and if it had previously been contracted to work with the SLS rocket, which could have done a direct injection and hopefully could have got it there in 2 years. However, that rocket's not readily available to be able to fly this mission, so it ended up flying on Falcon Heavy, which successfully nailed it, and it's safely on its way. Now you might say here again, Tim, why isn't this one of the top, this is a flagship mission. Why isn't it, one of the tippity top, most inspirational, innovative, important, and, especially important? This sounds incredibly important. Well, it's just now on its way. It's just starting. The start of the mission itself, the scientific mission, has not yet begun. However, it's successfully on its way, and it's looking like it's on a fantastic trajectory, which is exactly why we want to recognize NASA's Europa Clipper and SpaceX for launching NASA Europa Clipper.
Accepting the Astro Award on behalf of NASA and JPL for the successful launch of the Europa Clipper mission, please welcome to the stage Dr. Krista Soderlund from the University of Texas Institute of Geophysics. Please also welcome back to the stage, representing SpaceX, the launch provider for the Europa Clipper mission, Paul Wooster.
Okay, thanks. I am one of the people who like to read from paper, so I don't want to forget anything. So I wanted to say first off, thank you very much on behalf of the entire Europa Clipper team to have this Astro Award. We are really deeply honored for this recognition of our work. So this is a NASA mission that represents decades of work by a global team of dedicated scientists, engineers, support staff, students, and administrators. And I want to give a special thanks to NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory in California, and also to the Johns Hopkins Applied Research Physics Laboratory in Maryland for leading the mission, But I also want to do a special call out to the institutions that are responsible for our 10 remarkable investigations. So these include JPL and APL that I just mentioned, as well as NASA Goddard, the Arizona State University, the University of California, Los Angeles, the University of Colorado in Boulder, the Southwest Research Institute down the road in San Antonio, as well as the University of Texas at Austin. So Europa Clipper is inspired by these profound questions of habitability and whether or not we are alone in the universe and if there might be life beyond the Earth. So to explore this icy ocean world, our spacecraft is equipped with cameras to map its surface, with multiple types of spectrometers to analyze its composition and its chemistry. We also have a whole suite of instruments to understand its interior, which includes plasma, magnetic fields, and gravity fields. And then for one aspect that I'm particularly excited about because I'm involved with is the ice penetrating radar, which is led by a team here in Austin. And this is going to give us our first look into the ice shell of an icy ocean world. So this will be for the first time ever done in the outer solar system and for the first time for an icy ocean world. So that's exciting. So as Tim mentioned, the Europa Clipper will orbit Jupiter, and we will be doing this about 50 times, where we're going to do swoops down to do measurements of Europa's surface down to about 25 kilometers above the surface. And I also want to say that this mission is going to determine whether Europa Clipper holds the conditions for life. And although we must wait until 2030 for our arrival at Jupiter in 2031 for the first Europa flybys, there's a lot of really exciting science to do in the meantime. And we also have the opportunity to inspire the next generation of explorers. So thank you very much for celebrating the Europa Clipper family and for your enthusiasm for all of these future discoveries that await us all. So thank you.
So yeah, on behalf of the entire SpaceX team, we're very excited to have helped enable this mission and flying out to Jupiter. When I was growing up, I remember the Voyager missions and the data they got back, and then Galileo spacecraft in orbit around Jupiter and all the intriguing things it was telling us about that system of moons. And I know there's been a whole series of concepts for how to go and explore further, and the Europa Clipper team has really done a great job in coming up with some interesting approaches to that. I'm kind of a trajectory person myself, so understanding all the different ways in which you can get a spacecraft like Europa Clipper out to Jupiter and go explore that moon has been quite a lot of fun. I got to help out a little bit here and there early on in trying to explore different ways that we could launch that spacecraft out to Jupiter, and we're very happy to have been able to do so. And so thank you on behalf of the entire SpaceX team.
Give it up again for Dr. Krister Soderlund, Paul Worcester, SpaceX, NASA, and JPL for the successful launch of the Europa Clipper mission.
Okay, so now it's time for the bigger ones, the ones that we consider the most important, the most innovative, and the most inspirational. But we're going to start off with the most important. And by the way, I've been called out recently. I realize when I speak like this, I always say important. I don't know anyone else that does that. If you hear it in my videos, I don't normally speak like that. Like I'll be like, yeah, important, But for whatever reason, when I'm like in speaker mode, I'm like, important. Who does that? Sorry. So this is easily, speaking of like what we just saw there with Europa Clipper, I want to treat this as like, when is it time to celebrate, right? When is it the right time to celebrate these missions? I think a successful launch and making sure it's on its way is one of those moments. But actually reaching its prime goal should be another big opportunity to really celebrate. That might be the moment of like all the weight lifted off your shoulders and going, we actually did it. We reached our prime goal. And that's why the most important mission of the year goes to NASA's Parker Solar Probe. Okay, so Parker Solar Probe was launched on August 12th, 2018. It launched that long ago. So remember, when's the time to celebrate? That was the time, I think it was in our very first Astro Awards in my bedroom, or one of the first ones. But now we see it literally completing its mission. It launched on August 12th, 2018 on a Delta IV Heavy. And that's, at the time it was the most powerful rocket flying. And just to even do this mission, they even had to use a third stage. So use the 48 BV, a third stage on top of it, or an extra stage inside the payload fairing, which is crazy. So, and despite that, in order to even get even closer to the sun, getting close to the sun is actually really, really, really hard. One of the easiest, ironically, if you wanted to run into the sun, you could actually go really, really, really far away and then just lower your periapsis, your lowest point. And it's actually can be an easy way to do it. But if you want to actually just go kind of directly to it, you might need some assists from other gravitational bodies. So it actually did 7 Venus flybys to lower its orbit close enough to actually complete its mission, which is crazy. So it literally has just been sitting there, getting a little bit closer every time it passes through, gets a gravity assist from Venus. And on December 24th, so Christmas Eve of just this last year, it got to its closest point of only 6 million kilometers, or 3.8 million miles from the sun. Now that might not sound that close. I mean, it's not like it's, you might think like, Tim, 4 million miles? That's not that close. But keep in mind that Mercury is 43 million miles, or about 70 million kilometers away. So it's 10 times closer to the sun than Mercury, and Mercury is already cooking, right? And this thing is officially, we'll get to that in a second. It has 4 main instruments to measure the sun's magnetic field, a wide field imager, a particle measure, and another particle measure. So 2 particle measurers. It reached speeds up to 700,000 kilometers an hour, or 430,000 miles an hour. That's pretty fast. So that means it's actually the fastest human-made object. I would honestly consider giving it an Astro Award just for that. The fastest human-made object ever. But what it's done so far is help answer questions about the sun. It has helped predict solar weather, and just generally helped us understand how stars work. And that's why Parker Solar Probe deserves an Astro Award.
Accepting the Astro Award remotely on behalf of NASA and the Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Laboratory for Parker Solar Probe, the most important mission of 2024. Let's give a round of applause to Dr. Joseph Westlake, Heliophysics Division Director at NASA.
Hey everyone, Joe Westlake here, NASA's Division Director for Heliophysics. I am so sorry that I could not join you in Austin today. On behalf of the entire Parker Solar Probe team, NASA Heliophysics, I wanted to thank Everyday Astronaut for recognizing us with the Astro Award and eagerly accept this award on behalf of the team. 2024 was such a big year for the sun and for heliophysics. So big, in fact, that we named it the Heliophysics Big Year. I hope you all had the opportunity to witness the total solar eclipse that crossed the entire nation in April. I hope you were able to see with your own eyes the solar atmosphere, the corona, as it was blocked out by the moon. Being able to see that corona and then following it up with all of the solar activity that happened at the maximum of our solar cycle that created all of the aurora across the US in May and in October. I hope you all had the opportunity to experience the power of our sun and to follow along and hopefully not take our sun for granted. In many ways, we think about it every day. We think of it, we see it rise and set, and we don't think much about it. But really, the sun impacts us every day, whether it be the space weather up in space and affecting our astronauts and spacecraft, but also being able to see these amazing light displays with the aurora. We in heliophysics really care deeply about the sun, and as such, we have sent a fleet of spacecraft across the solar system to really understand the sun and its impact. The key piece of that is the Parker Solar Probe. That is the hottest, the fastest, the closest mission to the sun, traveling 430,000 miles per hour during its closest approach in 2024. And then traveling within 3.8 million miles of the photosphere. And at its closest approach, it got to 1800 degrees Fahrenheit on the hot side of the heat shield, while keeping those instruments at a balmy 85 degrees. So this technological innovation is really amazing. And it really showcases that persistence of vision that happened with the scientific community when they when they had the idea of this mission back in 1958, following on the scientific developments of Gene Parker, its namesake, who really believed that we could have the sun delivering the solar wind all the time, which was later found out to be the reality of what we live in. So you all at Everyday Astronaut have recognized us, NASA Heliophysics and Parker Solar Probe, and we are extremely grateful for that. Thank you so much.
Another round of applause for Dr. Joseph Westlake, NASA and the Johns Hopkins University Applied Physics Laboratory for the Parker Solar Probe mission. Congratulations on winning the Astro Award for the most important mission of 2024.
So, when I was growing up, I loved Star Wars and I generally like sci-fi. And I think about things, like being built and manufactured in space. I think we're all familiar with the Death Star. That's probably the best example that I can think of building things in space. I can't wait to have my own. But we got to kind of take baby steps. We're talking tiny baby steps for now, but still baby steps in manufacturing in space. So, a little company called Varda is working on in-space manufacturing. And Varda's W series launched on June 12th, 2023. So it launched in 2023 on SpaceX's Falcon 9 on Transporter 8. And Varda's W series capsule integrated with Rocket Lab's Photon satellite bus. So it kind of has the people that are hogging the stage up here already kind of representing this mission in two ways anyway already. So, but the cool thing about this is that they crystallize ritonavir, I think I'm pronouncing that ritonavir, thank you. An antiviral drug used to treat HIV and hepatitis C. So why is this 2024 mission? Well, it landed in February 21st, 2024 in Utah. It was the first ever re-entry under the FAA's Part 450. It's an exciting first step in the promise of the future of in-space manufacturing. And this is just one of those quintessential missions. Well, first of all, there's just a lot of innovation that goes into trying to, build things in space, especially autonomously. There's no human in this thing, it's relatively small. So to be able to actually produce and manufacture things that can benefit us down here on Earth, that's the future that I'm looking forward to. So this is just one of those classic missions that goes in space and literally affects us here on Earth. And it might be a small step for now, but it's absolutely pretty amazing that they were able to accomplish it, which is why Varda is receiving an Astro Award.
Accepting the Astro Award on behalf of Varda Space for W1, the most innovative mission of 2024. Please welcome to the stage Nick Ciadella, the CTO of Varda Space. Please also welcome back to the stage, representing Rocket Lab, the manufacturer of the W1 mission, Rebecca Sutton.
All right, I'll keep this short and sweet, but first I want to thank Tim, Mary Liz, and the entire Everyday Astronaut team for putting this whole weekend together. And of course, our partners at Rocket Lab, they're a really talented team for their support in making this mission come to life, and they're a really talented team for really nailing it on the first shot. And also the FAA for granting us that license to bring it back home eventually. Can't thank them enough for really paving the way on that new regulation. But really, most of all, the entire Varda team, who only 3 years prior to this mission's landing was only 10 people inside of an RV garage. An RV at the time meant recreational vehicle, not reentry vehicle. Who I'm here accepting this award for. But can't thank them enough. They don't get celebrated enough, so this really goes to them. And really the last thing I'll say is it's an honor to be, recognized by such a group of really impactful people who, generally go unrecognized by everyday society, but are, really relied on in everyday life. So, and that's why Varda was founded. We really want to use microgravity to really improve life here back on Earth. So, now with that first mission behind us, it's time to go make that happen. Thank you.
I'll just keep this short and sweet because you're sick of me now. But look, I have a friend this time, so we're getting better. I'm here now representing our Rocket Lab Space Systems division, which I think is now really hitting its stride and starting to get recognized, but is a massive portion, most profitable of our business. Don't tell anyone. I know we're called Rockets, but I wouldn't even call us a launch company anymore. Space Systems is amazing. Making the spacecraft bus and operating it out of our mission control room in Long Beach. I've been able to see all of that. That's been amazing. And obviously partnering with Varda is fantastic. Their work is incredibly important, and we've said it before, we'll say it again. We go to space to improve life on Earth, and I can't think of any better mission than actually downmassing pharmaceuticals to help life on Earth. So this is fantastic. Thank you all. Thank you, Varda. Thank you.
Let's hear it again for Nick Ciadella, Rebecca Sutton, Rocket Lab, and Varda Space for their successful W1 mission. Congratulations on winning the Astro Award for the most innovative mission of 2024.
Okay, there's sometimes there's ideas that seem, I don't know how to put this, stupid. Maybe stupid's not. Impossible, ridiculous, insane. Sometimes you might hear of a company that's like, what if we, we're trying to land rockets. What if we didn't have landing legs on the rocket? What if we just used the launch tower that launched the rocket to just catch the rocket? Sound familiar? Well, this is one of the most inspirational missions of 2024. On October 13th from Starbase, Texas, we saw Starship Flight 5. Yep, I think you guys know where this one's going. So Flight 5 took off October 13th from Starbase, Texas. This is, as you may know, this is the world's largest, most powerful rocket to ever fly. It's over twice as powerful as the Saturn V that took humans to the moon. And despite that, that's cool and all, but the big goal for this vehicle is to be fully and eventually rapidly reusable. So developing, SpaceX is famous for landing rockets and reusing them over and over. This is supposed to be the next step in that process. And so in that process, in order to make it rapidly reusable, how do you make that turnaround time as quick as possible? You want to just be able to literally land the rocket, put it right back on the launch pad, and refly it. So what if you could just skip the steps? Because right now the Falcon 9 either lands downrange and lands on the drone ship, they bring the drone ship back into port, they unload it, they do all the stuff, and then they eventually get it back out pretty quick these days, but they do eventually get it back onto the launch pad. Or they can do a return to launch site landing where the booster has enough extra margin to be able to actually land relatively close to where it took off from. Vandenberg is pretty close. It's only, maybe 1,000 feet away or whatever. It's relatively close, but it still has to be, picked up and kind of moved around, and it does take a little bit for it to be able to get back into service and back up onto the launch pad. So what if you could basically skip all those steps? What if you could literally take a rocket and catch it with a tower and then set it back down onto the launch pad immediately and soon be able to refly this thing? So this is one of those things that just simply lit the internet on fire. And that's kind of what the inspirational is all about, is what kind of impact did this have? We saw numbers on X and on Instagram and on YouTube just of people experiencing something for the first time. 90% of the people that see it that don't know what it is don't believe that footage is real. Sincerely. Every other comment that I see is CGI, reverse video, this is fake. And to me, that's actually really exciting. I can't be help be a little offended. Like, this is our footage of that thing that I saw with my eyes on the 7th one. It's just crazy to me that it looks so ridiculous because it is ridiculous, and that it actually happened in real life, and it's a thing that's going to be part of our future. And so that inspirational aspect, that it's so unbelievable that people could see it with their own eyes and still don't even believe it's real, is why this is considered the most inspirational mission of 2024.
Accepting the Astro Award on behalf of SpaceX for the 5th test flight of Starship, the most inspiring mission of 2024, please welcome to the stage Bill Riley, VP of Starship Engineering.
Thank you, Tim. Thank you, everybody. I think the word you were looking for is audacious, because as I like to say, if it works, it's audacious, but if it doesn't, it's crazy. And I think to set the stage a little bit more about how audacious it was, I want to go back to January of 2018 when I first got to Boca Chica, Texas, traveling out from LA. Not much to see. We had a double-wide trailer, a tent some described as a circus tent, and lots of mud. But from there, we undertook to build our first stainless steel, methane, oxygen-powered, and Raptor-equipped vehicle called Starhopper. And that demonstrated so many lessons learned about our new propellant system, our new material, and paved the way for new things to come. Those early days of Boca, we were so resource constrained, we didn't have simple things like water and electricity. And having built Hopper like a water tower, after we retired it, it became a water tower. That paved the way for the new era of high-altitude flight test with our serial number 8 through 15 ships. It's a time I'm really proud of from the team. We built and flew 5 rockets in 5 months and really learned a lot about how they operate. We were able to understand the subsonic control and precision landing. That will pave the way for the launches you see here with our precision water landings and eventually return to launch site. But as we transitioned from those ships, we had to undertake the orbital pad, and we applied what we had known about building tall things in windy places, since Boca is very windy, to design the tower. And in only 12 months from the clean sheet design to the first ship lift, we were able to design a modular tower system that we can build in parallel, equip with as much hardware as we can at ground level, and then stack and integrate at height. And so, from there, with an operational tower, there was still a lot of engineering to do to get to the tower catch you just saw in the video. An insane amount of engineering that involved so many groups. The tower group, they refer to themselves as the GOATs. The booster team the booster had to be upgraded and converted to be able to be catchable. The ship team had work to do to extend ourselves to precision landing. The analysis teams, the GNC teams, so much marvelous engineering to do to enable that booster catch. In the end, I think the best metaphor I have for it is imagine trying to catch an upside down lightsaber falling through the sky and catching it with your elbows. You really don't want to be too early and you don't want to be too late. But all in all, I think it's about more than catching the booster. I think it's about catching our collective dream of going to Mars, making humanity multiplanetary, and getting out amongst the stars, one audacious step at a time. Thank you so much.
One more round of applause for Bill Riley and SpaceX for their 5th flight of the Starship. Congratulations on winning the Astro Award for the most inspiring mission of 2024.
Catching a lightsaber upside down with your elbows. That killed me. Yes, I will only think of that every time I see that from now on. So that means there's only one mission left from 2024 that encompasses being the most inspirational, the most important, and the most innovative. And this one in particular, ironically, you guys probably know quite a bit about from a previous panel. This is a mission that launched on September 10th from Launch Complex 39 from Kennedy Space Center on Falcon 9. This is, of course, the Polaris Dawn mission. Yep. As you know, this was the first commercial EVA to ever exist, where the first time people stepped outside of a spacecraft in the complete vacuum of space using not even being a government like the Soviet Union or the United States or Russia nowadays. Absolutely incredible. It flew to 1,400 kilometers in peak altitude. That's 870 miles, which means it's officially recognized by the National Aeronautic Association for Anna and Sarah being the highest women have ever flown, period. That's crazy. That's amazing, and on all those reasons is exactly why, in my opinion, between seeing someone play a violin in space, to seeing humans step outside of a spacecraft, to just seeing people react to this online, to knowing that this is an important step to be able to get humans on the moon and eventually Mars, testing out spacesuit systems, testing out life support in a new way that hasn't had been done in over 50 years, doing so many new, novel, important, inspirational, and innovative things is exactly why the top award this year goes to the Polaris Dawn crew.
Accepting the Astro Award remotely on behalf of the Polaris program for the incredible success of the Polaris Dawn mission, please give a big round of applause for Jared Isaacman.
Hello, space community. Jared Isaacman here. I am terribly sorry I can't be there in person to attend the event and accept the Astro Award, but I know Polaris Dawn is incredibly well represented by my crewmates and my very close friends. So you have Anna Walker-Menon and Sarah Cooper-Gillis. And for those of you that don't know them very well, they are absolutely brilliant engineers. They are astronauts, and they're the women who have traveled farthest from this planet. And that is a super cool record, but I know that it's one that they're excited to see broken in the near future. So I know this event that you're attending right now is incredibly well attended, with a lot of fired up space enthusiasts that are eager to celebrate a year of really just so many kick-ass space missions. So, for the small part that we played in it, please know how honored we are to be recognized, but we are a small part. We're a small part of a team of thousands that made our mission possible. So we're so grateful for all the contributors. You've got thousands of people at SpaceX that work so hard on solving really big engineering problems, like designing a brand new EVA spacesuit that we were able to test out, the Skywalker mobility aid, communicating over Starlink that enabled Cooper's unbelievable violin performance. If you haven't seen it, you have to check it out. And it doesn't stop there. So we have a whole entire Polaris team, that worked on organizing the mission, supporting the mission. Folks like Snap, who I have no doubt is in the audience right now, taking amazing photographs. We had a team of folks that were leading very important endeavors for us, like the whole slate of science and research experiments, working on our external comms, the philanthropy efforts for St. Jude. It really takes a huge community-wide effort. And that includes folks like Tim Dodd, the everyday astronaut, your host tonight, but also probably one of the best space educators in the world. And we got a chance to talk to him while we were on Polaris Dawn from space, which was really cool. And really all of you that supported Polaris Dawn and helped us raise hundreds of millions of dollars for St. Jude Children's Research Hospital. I mean, your enthusiasm for human spaceflight, for exploration and discovery and longing for a more exciting future among the stars is what's really going to will it into existence. That's why I have really no doubt that the best Astro Awards are really yet to come. So have a great time tonight, and I hope to see you all very soon.
And now, also accepting the Astro Award on behalf of the Polaris program, please welcome to the stage members of the crew of Polaris Dawn, Anna Menon and Sarah Gillis. Also joining the crew on stage, representing SpaceX, the launch provider of Polaris Dawn mission, let's hear it for Paul Wooster.
On behalf of our entire crew, Jared, Kid, Sarah, and myself, thank you so much for this tremendous honor. We are standing here today thanks to the incredible work by the SpaceX team, as well as so many others, including NASA, the Polaris team, scientists around the globe, and this community. For 3 years, the SpaceX team developed the hardware, the software, and the operations that made every moment of this mission possible. Their hours were dedicated to innovatively problem solving, rapidly iterating, persevering in the face of setbacks, and pouring their hearts into making sure that every moment in detail was attended to. We are able to stand here today thanks to them, and this award is truly theirs.
I honestly don't think I can add much to what Jared and Anna have said, but I think it's super important to acknowledge what you guys are doing here. We're all here because we love space, and we're all excited about the future of space. And Polaris was an incredible mission. We went the farthest we've ever gone from Earth since we went to the moon, and honestly, it's not that far. It's 875 miles or so, and that's barely scratching the surface. So I know we're incredibly excited for the future of space and kind of what's to come. And this was, one small step in that direction, but we're really grateful for the recognition for that piece of it. So thank you.
Yeah, I certainly don't have much to add to all of that. But when I started at SpaceX back in 2007, I think very few people believed that we could even get a Dragon into space, deliver cargo to the space station. It was just amazing to see what the team has accomplished, and now being able to send some of our own engineers into space and get to see all of these wonderful accomplishments has just been truly amazing. So I really want to thank the entire SpaceX team that's made that happen. The Dragon team, Falcon, and our overall human spaceflight focused activities. And absolutely congratulations to the crew, of course, too. So thank you.
One last round of applause for Jared Isaacman, Anna Menon, Sarah Gillis, Paul Wooster, SpaceX, and the Polaris program for the Polaris Dawn mission. Congratulations on winning the Astro Award for the most important, innovative, and inspiring mission of 2024.
Well, everyone, that's pretty much it. I mean, what's exciting is how many of these missions were we talking about where we're like, you can just see, that this is just the start of things to come. So many things are like, oh, I can see where this is going. Oh, I see where that's going. And so I've been thinking, next year we're gonna have some really exciting missions that we already talked about. Hopefully we'll see some follow-ups there. But I mean, imagine in 5, 10, 15 years, what types of things we're going to be talking about at the Astro Awards. I mean, it's happening. We are in an incredibly exciting time in spaceflight history. Again, finally, being able to have Charlie Duke here and hearing some of those stories, and you're just sitting there going, I used to hear those stories and go, man, I'm so sad that I wasn't born at the right time to be able to, witness that part of history. And standing here today, though, I actually genuinely feel like here we are again. We are in that type of moment of history of, people are going to be looking back at future generations and go, holy crap, can you imagine living at that exciting time? And I really think that's the era that we're in here today. So I hope you guys are feeling that excitement. I hope you're going to be leaving here this weekend inspired when whatever you do. I'm curious, out of here, how many of you in this audience work in the aerospace industry? Raise your hand if you work in the aerospace industry. Okay, that's actually less than I thought. That's about maybe a 6 or so, a small percentage. How many of you would like to work in the aerospace industry? Wish you did. How many of you are just here because you're a spaceflight fan and that's good enough for you? And how many of you did I personally drag you here because you're a friend or family member that I'm like, amazing. So yes, thank you guys so much for being here. But this what might seem like hopefully a fairly seamless production has been months in the making, 6 months in fact, in the making. And if it was smooth on your end, it's because of many sleepless nights from so many people. We have some, yeah. But first, we have to thank a few sponsors. We have Rocket Lab, who sponsored us this evening. We have Starbase Brewing, who is going to be doing an after party at Industry East. So thank you, Nate and Starbase Brewing. We have Guinn Partners. We have Vast, who's sponsoring the nominee dinner tonight. We have SpaceX and Stoke and Gravitics, and also Jakubic Photographer for being the official photography of this weekend. And also, we have a bonus sponsor that we saved for right now, because guess what? The folks at Firefly sent us this mission, this photo of their Blue Ghost mission, which is currently going to be heading to the moon in just a few weeks. So it's currently in orbit, and it will be doing a translunar injection next month. So can't wait for that. So thank you to Firefly as well. So, but on top of that, we have a huge amount of people that also made this happen. And I'm telling you, the problem is that I actually wasn't very stressed this year, which probably means that all of the stress got distributed to all of these people who did such an amazing job. When I say sleepless nights, I bet Mary Liz has slept 4 hours in the past 2 days. Literally, like realistically. Yeah, so let's hear it from Mary Liz. Mary Liz Felicity, we're gonna make you come out here. This wonderful human being. Yes, standing ovation for Mary Liz. Seriously, this whole thing is because of her and Ryan from Cosmic Perspective. It's also Ryan's birthday. It's 2:42, 42 on the dot. And also we have so many people. Allie, my girlfriend, did all the amazing graphics that you see with Gravity Coast Design. So the whole weekend, the reason it looks so cool is because of her and just so many people, our production crew, that I throw stuff on. Literally yesterday, you witnessed me be like, oh, just throw that up. We didn't talk about it once. Find a way to put it on the screen in the middle of the show. You know, like that's the kind of stuff these guys have to deal with. And I'm just so incredibly thankful and overwhelmed, frankly, that we were able to get it done. But thank you all so much. That's going to do it for me. I'm Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, bringing space down to Earth for everyday people. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Well, there you go, the second annual in-person Astro Awards. Another huge congratulations to those of you that won an Astro Award and the people behind these amazing missions. I can't wait to just keep doing this every year and celebrate the people that make this stuff possible, because this is the stuff that inspires me. This is the stuff that I think's actually worth celebrating in the world. So, congratulations. And beyond all the amazing people that made this event happen and those that came in person, thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, consider maybe dropping a super chat or becoming a Patreon supporter or a YouTube member or ex-subscriber. Anyway, if you want to show your support, it all makes this stuff possible. And one more little side note, you may have heard some new music that we used as kind of the on music and off music. I am working on some new songs. I'll hopefully have those out here in the near future, so stand by. Thanks everybody, that's gonna do it for me. I'm Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut, bringing space down to Earth for everyday people.